No countdown this week.
All right, this episode of the Off-Road Podcast is sponsored by Warren Medical Gear Outfitters and Colby Valve.
Off-Road Podcast, episode 369, Adventures with Amy Lerner.
Hello.
Tonight, Aaron's a winner, Jeremy is incognito, and Ben kneels on a stand-up paddleboard.
Oh, I forgot to pull up the music. I'm terrible. I'm so off. Forgive me as I just got home a few minutes ago. And it's playing on the wrong thing. What is going on with me tonight?
Woo! Man, we're all
There
over
we
the
go.
place.
All over the place. And welcome to the Off-Road Podcast, a podcast about everything off-road. We cover the news, review products, and interview people in the off-road industry. Your host tonight is Aaron, and my name is Ben, and tonight we are joined once again by Amy, and welcome to the show.
Thank you. Looking forward to chatting with you guys again.
Oh, yeah. I am too.
Yeah.
And let's go.
The Weekend Review is brought to you by Medical Gear Outfitters. What are you waiting for? Are you waiting to have a casualty on the trail? Check out medicalgearoutfitters.com to get straightened out. Medical Gear Outfitters has everything you need, whether you're going out for the day or traveling on a year-long expedition. Head over there to get off-road specific kits that meet all of your needs. And while you're there, make sure you use Off-Road Podcast for 10% off.
All right, well, we always ask you, Ben, it seems to be the thing to do. Did you use your first aid kit this week?
No, I didn't use mine. I used someone else's because I needed aloe vera.
I can kind of see it. You're looking a little red.
Yeah, my nose is red, my arms are red, my back is red, my chest is red, and I've got crock pox.
Crock pox, yeah. I would, if I could pan the camera down to my feet. My feet have got a good burn on them too from the sandals I was wearing.
Yeah, mine are dirty and crock pocked with burns. Fortunately enough, I'm healing up. That happened on the second day of my what day did I leave? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4 days ago. Thursday. Yeah. So that happened Friday.
So why don't you tell us what you've been up to then, Ben?
I went camping. I'll keep it short because next week we're talking about this in more in depth. But we went on a family trip. We went out to the Grand Coulee Dam area and did the whole standard family camping out there in a state park. Took the trailer, utilized some upgrades and a borrowed toy, and then met up with my buddy Pete and his wife Vanessa.
Nice.
So it was a nice fun weekend. I did do something I've wanted to do, didn't think I'd be able to do it, was go paddleboarding.
So you shared a picture of that, but you were on your knees. I don't think that's how that works.
No, I got about a little bit farther than that, and then I fell back into the water.
That's a lake.
Yeah, that is it Park Lake? I was at it's the lake next to oh my goodness. I can't think of what it's called. I was there for so long. Yeah. It's just down from the Coulee Dam. But it's not potholes. But
it's Sunshine Reservoir or something like that. There's lots and lots of lakes over
Sun
in that
Lake
area.
State Park. There we go. And there we go. And it's one of the warmest lakes in Washington, and it's definitely worth it. And there are some amazing views like this there.
Wow.
So, yeah. It was a fun weekend. I had lots of fun, lots of family stuff, a little hiking, a little this and that. So yeah, and then I got to use my new solar box to its full potential and battled the elements of the damn clouds. And now I want to add even more capacity.
Well, yeah, let's dig into that deep next week because I went camping also, and I won't talk about that because we'll talk about that next week because I also dealt with my solar setup and water and a new water heater and some things like that. So yeah, we'll talk camping next week and our gear setups and things like that. But besides that, I wasn't on last week. I was out sick, but the couple days prior to that, I did get the roof sheeting on my shop that I'm building. So that's down. Still have to finish up some details before I can put the felt on. We didn't get any metal roofing on, but that'll be the next step in the next couple weeks. I'm going to work on it this Saturday. And then later that evening, I did some side-by-side racing down in my lower field. My brother-in-law has a side-by-side. My close neighbor has a side-by-side. And then obviously I wasn't in a side-by-side because I don't own one, but I took my V8 swapped Nissan Frontier down there. And so basically we did a 1,000-foot dash, and I was able to beat them 2 out of 3 times. The first time I tried to do some power braking, and I just spun a tire the entire, probably for the first 400 feet down the field. But the second 2 times I absolutely killed it. So that made me feel really good that I was faster than the side-by-sides.
Well, it's really easy to do with bald tires, though, right?
Yeah, I've got some bald tires. And then I found out I got a power steering leak. I had
You
to
too?
tweak one of the power. Yeah, me too. I had to tweak one of my hard lines to get my Warren winch to fit, and I think it might have cracked after 3 years of use and abuse. So I need to take the front end apart amongst other things and check that out. So it was just barely leaking, but then my wife drove it down to the creek and back, which is probably a half-mile round trip. And the reservoir was completely full when she left, and when she got back, it was completely empty in a half of a mile. So not good. Really leaking.
At all.
Yeah.
Well, Amy, what about you? Anything new and exciting this last week?
I did not go camping.
No.
No camping. No. I actually, the funny thing is, before I started rallies, I had camped one night in my entire life.
Well, we're going to talk about that in the upcoming questions that I've got for you, because I do want to hear about how that portion of the sleeping and camping and living while you are racing multi-day trips goes. So, yeah.
Yeah.
We also
Oh, sorry.
have so you didn't go camping. Have you done anything else car related or off-road related?
Not in a while. I did do a lot of research on what might be my next rally today. That's about as close as I get, because I live, 25 minutes outside of Manhattan, on the other side of the Hudson, in New Jersey, and there's not a lot of quick, pickup. There's nowhere to race in my backyard, unfortunately, and any sort of off-road trails are going to be a couple hours away, so it's requires some major planning. It's not something I can just pick up and do. So I try to pack it all in when I can and go far away.
There you go.
Definitely.
We also want to thank our sponsor, Patriot Patch. Head over to patriotpatch.co and check out their selection of great patches, shirts, cleaning mats, signs, and stickers. You can also join the Patch of the Month Club for $15 and receive a patch, matching sticker, and artist proof each month. So speaking of Patriot Patch, I know Ben mentioned it last week that he got the Suns Out, Guns Out patch. And then the companion patch to that is the Moons Out, Goons Out patch, which also came. I wish that those would focus, but everybody's probably watching on their mobile devices anyways, and they probably can't tell that it's blurry on my screen anyway. So anyways, go check out Patriot Patch. They've got some great patches over there. I was super excited to to get those bad boys when they did show up. So a lot of fun. And speaking of patches, Ben, I didn't hear in the last week episode, you guys didn't talk about Brent's patch. I assume you got one as well.
Oh yeah,
But,
I did. I totally forgot about that.
He gave us a Frontier Overland patch, and then his signature cup, which is, it's just a camping cup, whatever. But on the back, which is really cool, is it has the volumes for it's got a quarter, a third, a half, 2/3, 3/4, and 1 cup. Now, while you might think that that's for measuring your alcohol, he sells a lot of the freeze-dried things, and you need to measure your water for freeze-dried food, and you can use his cup to do that. So
Smart.
pretty neat.
It's a smart business move. That is for sure.
Yeah.
Multitaskers are always appreciated when you're out and about.
Absolutely.
A thinking layer, right?
It's easy to forget to bring measuring cups camping. That's not something you think that you need to bring.
Oh, there's so many things you can forget to bring.
And that dehydrated food, if you put too much water in there, you're having soup, not whatever it was supposed to be.
Freeze-dried soup. So good.
Yeah.
Have tire troubles ever left you deflated? Colby Valve has got you covered.
You know what? I forgot. Our patches.
Oh yeah. I don't have mine with me. I set mine out so I could go do a photo shoot with them, which I haven't got to yet. So
mine are in the Forerunner, and the box is over there. And I'm not going to get up right now. But our patches are available. $13 for one, a single one shipped, $10 for any additional. Or if you pick them up from us in person, $10 a pop. Just send us a message. The extra $3 to help with shipping. Just send us a message through any of our channels, and we can set you up with a PayPal link and get you all set up. Just remember your address with that. I've got to email one of the guys that ordered a patch. I went to go put some patches in the mail and get that all ready, and I forgot to grab his address. So I got to hit him up for that.
Go prepared. Have tire troubles ever left you deflated? Colby Valve has got you covered. Ever have a valve stem leak? Colby Valve makes reusable and easily replaceable valve stems that don't require you to remove your tire from the wheel. They work with your off-road rig, ATV, side-by-side, commuter vehicle, or even your tractor. Never be left stranded again because of a busted valve stem. They also have a tire repair kit for those punctures that keep you away from doing your favorite thing, wheeling. Make sure to check out colbyvalve.com or ask for them at your local off-road products store.
All right. So we're going to get right into this news because I want to get right to the main topic. So we're going to blow through this kind of quick. But this first article, actually both articles on a blog, and we're probably going to roll from one right into the other. But the first one is about the Myers-Manx dune buggy. It's being reborn as an electric vehicle, which is super cool. There's a picture of it on the screen there. The front shot, to me, just looks like a resto mod Myers-Manx. You don't really see that it's an EV.
It looks a lot cleaner than the old school dune buggies, though, still.
Yeah. That's why I was kind of saying like a resto mod, like someone spent some good money to make it look sharp. So they come in a 20 or 40 kilowatt battery option, which gives you 100 to 300 miles of range. Uses 2 electric motors. They're both in the rear end, so one for each side. So I wonder if that allows you to use torque vectoring. It didn't really say in the It actually didn't say in the article. The 40 kilowatt car has 202 horsepower and 240 foot-pounds of torque. It has so this is a neat feature. It has an onboard charger. It's only 6 kilowatt. But like if you were somewhere goofing around with this and your battery got really low, you could just plug it into anything. Or if you had a generator, you could turn the generator and plug it into a generator, things like that. So it's kind of neat that it carries a small charger with it. It won't get you much. It won't get you far, but it get you something.
Which is a whole lot better than nothing.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. It uses an all aluminum monocoque, no old Volkswagen chassis, so you don't have to just buy it as a kit and put it together yourself. Front and rear disc brakes. It weighs 1,500 to 1,650 pounds, so 1,600, 500 pounds is the most. So that extra double in kilowatts, the extra 20 kilowatt battery option only adds 150 pounds. So to me, it sounds like the way to go.
Yeah,
No
definitely.
pricing yet. Ben, can you scroll down? I forgot to read I forgot to put the 0 to 60 in here because everybody wants to know how fast it is. 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds. So that's pretty quick. That's really quick.
Yeah, I grew up with a dune buggy. I've mentioned it before on the show. My dad still has his dune buggy. Currently, my sister's trying to talk him out of it, which is probably not going to happen. But a child can dream. My dad would love to smash her dreams on that one. I would love it too. It currently needs new floorboards, and I'm capable of getting it done quicker than she is. But me getting projects done, that's not going to happen right now. So.
Eric asks if the dune buggy is off-road capable. I assume so because all of those pictures were of it in the dirt. And Eric, as you know, I know Eric has a long history with people who have owned Volkswagen Bugs and Beetles and things like that, and dune buggies, and have taken them off-road in places they shouldn't have. It's lightweight, rear-wheel drive. The motors are over the rear axle, so it's kind of got that same weight distribution. So I'm sure it'll do just fine. Just like the original Beetle was pretty capable off-road, minus the ground clearance issues. So our next article is also about EV. It is about the Can-Am motorcycles. So they just announced two bikes, a road bike called the Pulse and a dual sport called the Origin. They look pretty neat. There's practically zero details. They're powered by Rotax electric motors, which I didn't know that Rotax was getting in the electric motor business, but that's smart of them because they make a lot of small engines for a lot of small engine things like small airplanes and I don't know what else. They make a lot of small engines. So making small electric motors is a good business model for them, in my opinion. But the one thing they do tell us is that these bikes are direct drive, no transmission, no gearbox. So basically the chain goes from the electric motor directly to the rear hub. One speed, no changing gears at all. So, and there's practically no other details other than it's supported by level 2 charging, if that means anything to anybody listening.
So, I think that means it can go 240 charging.
I think so. I think that would be level 2. So
it's exciting to see the different stuff developing. I wish the battery technology was a little better still. I mean, that kind of holds me off with I wish more range.
Well, but I mean, look at that Myers Manx. It can go 300 miles, and now I'm sure that's not off-road miles, but it can go 300 miles, and it weighs 1,600 pounds. It doesn't weigh hardly.
That is amazing right there, and that's a great step in the right direction. And it's probably got to do with its weight. I mean, you look at some of the EV trucks that are out there, and they weigh 12,000 pounds, which it's like, hey, drop that weight in half, and you're going to bump up that range a ton.
Yeah. Amy, you mentioned before the show that you just got an electric vehicle. Do you mind telling us what you got?
I did get the 12,000 pound one. It's a Hummer EV.
Oh, awesome. That's super exciting.
It's actually, I bought it because I guess was one of the first few people to hit send on the deposit like 3 years ago. And this is going to be a really cool vehicle. I don't know if I'm going to keep it. I don't know if it's the right thing for me. And it is a great vehicle, but it is massive and it's heavy. But it does have a 340-mile range, which is honestly a lot more than stuff that's half the size. And
Yeah.
that's in my area, obviously we're pretty suburban, so there's lots of places to charge. But once you get out of these dense areas, the on the way charging is rough. And if your range isn't there, it's really not a viable choice yet. Ta-da, there you go.
Yeah, I've seen one in the wild like twice, and I think it was the same guy.
Yeah, not a lot of them have come available yet.
And I wanted to chase him down so bad to just ask him about it and talk to him about it. And it seemed very inappropriate to be chasing down someone in a
When
Camry.
people stop you I've been, stopped at the stop sign, like, hey, can you talk? Hey, talk to me.
Yeah,
I bet.
It's cool, especially when there's a limited amount of them out there. It's kind of like when the Broncos were initially starting to get released. It's like, I finally get to see one in person, and it's like now I see them all over the place. I'm just like, meh.
Yeah.
But I think the Hummers, like, yes, it's 12,000 pounds. That range is finally there. It's like, okay,
Yep.
now let's cut some weight and improve the range. We'll see what happens. But I mean, it's like gas technology in cars. At first, you were still seeing 12 miles per gallon.
Yep.
But
Well,
more
the good news is if you decide when and if you decide to sell it, I think that the resale on them is huge right now. So I don't think you can go wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's going to stay. GM announced that they were considering some punitive actions if people flipped their electric vehicles for a fat profit. I don't know exactly where that stands, but I saw a couple articles about that.
I wonder how they can enforce that. I wonder how they can enforce that if you didn't sign a contract.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if you haven't delivered it yet and you haven't received it yet and you get it and it's said, well, if you sell it within 12 months, this is what's going to happen. I could see that they could do that, but I don't know if it's enforceable if you already have your car in hand. But
or if you even sign that before you put down the deposit on it. I'm like, I'm sorry, I've already put money down on it. Thank you.
Yeah. Brave new world.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's super exciting that you have a Hummer EV. So I hope you get to take it lots of places and do lots of fun things with it. So
hoping to plan some long trips and get it in the dirt because it's got some ridiculous abilities.
Yeah,
on paper. We'll see how it goes off road, but yeah.
Well, maybe we need to have you back again in X number of months after you've driven it off road and had some fun with it. We can have a Hummer talk. So
we'll do a deep dive.
Yeah.
Go prepared with Warren Industries. They produced the first recreational winch in 1959 and lead the industry with their dedication to quality and reliability. When you dig yourself in deep, make sure you have the right tools to get yourself out. Get Warren equipped and go where others can't. Now, let's get ready for adventure and head into our main topic.
Well, tonight we're joined again by Amy Lerner. I really want to tell you all the things that she's done, but we're gonna like coax it out of her during this main topic part and hear her stories as we interview. So, but like I say again, because she's been on before, it was episode 361, so 8 shows back, and we talked specifically about her film One More Win, where she made an amazing film about the legendary off-road racer Rod Hall. So make sure, if you haven't listened to that one, not only go listen to it, but go watch that movie. It was it was a very good movie. So I really enjoyed that film.
And if you're just getting into off-roading, and Rod Hall's someone you could really learn to get into your life, just watching that, it would inspire you in many ways. Amy, we've got to start you off with my favorite thing to do. It's our Fast 5 Vax.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, so new or old vehicle?
Yes.
Oh, you have to pick.
Okay, old.
Summer, winter camping?
Summer.
Rock, sand, snow, or mud?
Sand.
Favorite vehicle brand?
Ooh, geez. Jeep.
And favorite tire?
BF Goodrich.
Yes.
Another for the BF. You know, we need to have like a tally board going behind my head.
That would be funny.
Yeah. I think BFG probably takes 50% of the tire choice.
If not more.
Yeah. Yeah. So you got into off-road racing about 12 years or so ago. How did that get started for you? What made you turn that corner in your life?
It was quite a sharp corner, but I read an article in the New York Times about this women's event in Morocco called the Gazelle Rally, known as the Gazelle Rally. And it's 9 days of basically orienteering, vehicular-based orienteering across southern Morocco through the dunes, etc. You have no electronics in your car. You don't have your phone. You don't have an iPad. You don't have your GPS, and you just had to get from point A to point B using paper maps from the 60s, compasses, the sun, pencils, and all that stuff. And the goal was to get from the first point to the last point in the shortest distance. So you had to choose your terrain, you had to choose your route, you had to know how to read the maps, you had to know what your vehicle could do. And learning about that, I just kind of, my joke, which everybody's probably heard by now, is that I took my Kindle, I went and I set it in front of my husband, and I said, honey, I found my midlife crisis. And
I love it.
Read the article and kind of looked at me and was like, all right, if that's what you want to do, figure out how to make it work. And that was it. I was off.
That is one hell of an encouragement to go do your midlife crisis.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
He's probably like, he was probably thinking, well, this is better than divorce and cruise ships or something.
He's not getting a red Corvette and a young blonde boyfriend. Sorry, hit the symbols. I just learned to do that on schedule. Yeah.
Well, what was that first vehicle that took you off the beaten path?
So I had never really driven off road. I realized I actually had a lot of experience without realizing it, because when I was a kid, my brother got a go-kart and I ended up basically just adopting it. So all of my allowance went to gas money and I would just drive around the yard. And we had a big enough yard that we had, a couple little jumps, I could catch a little air. So I spent, I don't even know how many hours doing that. But my first real off-road lesson was in Southern California with this little gray-haired guy who was super low-key, super, quiet. And, well, what do you think we should do? And we would come to a situation, and it turned out to be off-road racing legend Rod Hall. So I got a great foundation. And then, took what I learned from him and went to Morocco and realized that I really didn't know a lot of other things, but got hooked and, went to see what other events I could do.
So this next question is, what do you drive now? And we kind of heard that you got a Hummer EV.
Yeah.
Prior to that, did you have any other off-road vehicle that you owned?
Well, I have a 2012 Jeep Wrangler that I took to several events, including another visit to Morocco that I still own. And my daily driver before the Hummer was a Durango SRT. But again, you can sort, not really an off-road vehicle, but give it.
That's all right. That's
wall crawling in my area. There's not rock crawling, so
you've got a wonderful, fun choice of vehicles. So. Yeah, I don't know if I've ever met anybody that has the SRT Durango. I've met plenty of people who have other SRTs, but the Durango's a different animal. I like that.
That was a fun one. Yeah.
What is now? This will be a hard one. What's your most embarrassing moment on the trail?
I think that I blocked them all out of my memory. Actually, that's kind of an easy one. I changed a tire in the middle of the Chebi Dunes in Morocco in a rush and did not take the time to make sure the tire was square and all the bolts were tight, and got out of the dunes and was driving on this little tiny sand track through 2 fenced areas of a little settlement, and the wheel came off
Oh, scary.
the road, and a video guy came behind with a camera, and I was just absolutely mortified.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a good lesson, though. Good lesson.
Do you have a biggest win on the trail that you want to share?
I'm sorry?
A biggest win on the trail?
Yeah, I would say for me, it was probably this past Dakar rally when my co-driver Sarah and I won a stage, which means that we were the best performing team out of the 120 some odd teams in the classic. And it wasn't just that we won, it was that when the scores were when the rankings were posted, we were shown that I was in second place by 1 point because I'd been given a penalty. And as far as we knew, we did not have a penalty, that we had not had any problems. And I had to go into the stewards and spend a long time conversing with them and explaining that what they thought was a late penalty actually wasn't, because we were told to wait by one of their crew. And they went back and they went through the tracking, and I just stood firm and I was like, no, we did not get this penalty. This penalty is not just. And then someone else who came in, who apparently was the boss of all of those people, who I had gotten to know the year prior, and he said, okay, what's the problem? Looked at what it was, and he's like, I know her, take the penalty off. So
nice.
We were where we belonged in first place, which is pretty awesome, because I think that there have been maybe 6 women that have won stages at Dakar. So we were really proud of that.
Yes, it's not only a win for taking a first place for a stage, but it's also a win for being able to stand up for yourself and your team, and proving that you guys didn't deserve the penalty that was given to you. And it's probably even harder being in a foreign country and dealing with a foreign race agency and things like that.
Yeah, pretty much everybody's French in the organization. The majority of them, yep.
Yeah.
Well, where was your favorite place to go wheeling at?
Probably Morocco. Was just, every corner of it was spectacular. And Saudi Arabia also was incredible. And you also had the added perk of knowing that not a lot of people had ever been there before. Mm-hmm. Because off-roading is not a thing. Despite the terrain, you would think that people would be out driving around, every weekend, and it's really not as much of an activity there. So a lot of these places really were pristine.
You competed in the Rally de Gazelle 4 times. Yep. And as I understand them, the race follows a similar format for how it works, but it's not the same race every year. How were those different for you each 4 years?
The first, we were in a rental H3, and it was just learning. I don't know that I even would have noticed if we went to the same spot again, because we were so overwhelmed with what was going on. And you're really alone. I mean, you can't call anybody. You can't check on anybody. You're not following somebody else. You do run into other teams, but the majority of the time it's just you and your co-driver, and you've got to figure it out. So that was year 1. Year 2, we went back, and I had the Jeep that I mentioned that was built for us by American Expedition Vehicles. And we had studied and we had trained, and we just dialed it in and came in 8th out of 150 teams.
That's awesome.
So super, super proud of that. The 3rd year, went back and planned to go back again with the Jeep, and there was a shipping problem. So 4 days before the rally was due to start, we still had no vehicle. So I ended up scrambling last minute and renting an FJ Cruiser from a Moroccan guy who has an off-road company. And it was fun because he told me, he's like, it's tricked out, you're not going to break it, do whatever you want. So of course I was going a little fast, but it wasn't my vehicle. My co-driver was all out of sorts. So we didn't have the rally that we wanted that year. But again, you know, you have to make the decision to keep going. And we did, and we finished, and it worked out. And then the fourth year, I had a different co-driver, and we didn't really click as well as I would have hoped we did, and ended up having a little bit of a challenging time. But you do see different parts of the country every year, and they have, I guess, 3 different sets of checkpoints that are going at the same time, which adds to the excitement, because you can be driving along, as I mentioned, by yourself most of the time, but you'll see a ton of tracks, and occasionally you'll see another vehicle off in the distance, and they could be someone who knows what they're doing, doesn't know what they're doing, and maybe is on an entirely different course than you. So the fact that you see them or you see tracks really doesn't help you, because you don't know who it is, and you don't know if they're going where you want to go.
That adds a really cool element. It's like you can't just follow whoever's in front of you and trying to overtake them in the end. It's about being on the right path for you and you alone.
Yeah, exactly. And having the confidence that you know what you're doing. And even if it looks like 3 people are going off to the right and you think you need to be going straight, that you trust that you within yourself have learned and understand and know what you're supposed to do, and you just follow yourself. You don't get swayed. So that's really kind of an important part of it.
A follow-up question to that is, have you competed in the Rebel Rally here in the States?
I did, actually. The first year, Shelby Hall, Rod's granddaughter, and I competed.
Okay. How did that compare? Because as I understand it, that race kind of spurred off of the Rally des Gazelles.
Yeah, I think it was inspired by, and Emily Miller, who founded Rebel. I competed with her at the Gazelle Rally a few years, but what she does is different. Part of it is because there are more land use rules in the United States than there are in Morocco. In Morocco, as long as you don't run over anybody's plants or their farm or their goats, you know, you can drive pretty much freely, which there are pros and cons to that, of course. But in the US, you know, with BLM and much more private land, there's a lot more restrictions. So the event itself had to be structured differently. So there's more roadbook navigation. There are some sections where it's OHV, where you can just drive freely within Johnson Valley, where King of the Hammers happens. Okay. So part of the rally the year we did it was in Johnson Valley. So you do have the ability to just, you know, get on a track, get off a track, you know, make your way. But it makes it more complicated in a lot of ways, because you are restricted to where you need to go. So if you don't follow the directions, you end up in trouble, and you've got to get yourself back. You know, similar skills with knowing how a compass works, knowing how a map works, not having any electronics, but also equally challenging, super hard to do.
So you've also raced in, let me say this correctly, Australasian Safari Rally?
Yeah, the Australasian Safari Rally.
Nice
Yep.
job.
Yeah.
Wow. I got to pat myself on the back. That doesn't happen very often. And so how does that environment compare to Morocco and Saudi Arabia?
So that was the first time I did a race rally, which is the goal is, you know, go as fast as you can. And also roadbook navigation. And that was 6 days along Western Australia, starting in Perth and then basically heading up the coast. So I think it was about 3,500 miles. And that was super, super fun. It's on tracks and trails the whole time, but you are navigating by roadbook. You are watching out for kangaroos. You are, you know, watching the terrain. And that was just so much fun, such a great camaraderie in the spirit of the rally. And we ended up coming in 10th place overall, winning our class and winning overall production. I was very proud of the fact that I got the woman driver trophy, because I was the only one. So, you know, I didn't have to work very hard for that one.
Oh, man.
Tough thing
I
to
feel like I've gotten awards like that before, too.
Yeah, to get something like that, on the one hand, I did show up, and no other women apparently showed up at that year. And to me, it's like there's no reason not to. It's not a sport where the physical differences between a man and a woman have anything to do with the success, in my mind. So, on the one hand, you don't want to say it's not legal, little league, don't give me a trophy just because I showed up. On the other hand, you want to try to be encouraging about it and say, hey, okay, thank you. Yes, I realize it's perceived as more of an effort for me to be here than for either of you guys, maybe. But, you just want to represent, I guess, as much as I can and just go and be competitive.
We got Eric in the comments, and he says, how many types of terrain did you go through in the Morocco race? Anything unique that we have in the US? Anything unique we in the US would see? Oh, I think what he's asking is there things in Morocco that you got to see that are unique to there that we wouldn't come across here in the US?
Yes. The dunes are massive and very, again, I haven't driven a lot of the dune areas in the US. My experience is primarily down, on the California-Mexico border. But the dune fields that I've been in Morocco are much larger, and the shapes are different, and they're very unique from anything that I've seen. Also, there are fields and fields of camel grass, which are no fun at all because it's very easy to misjudge. Do you know what camel grass is?
I've heard about it. I've heard it sticks up a little bit, but it's really thick underneath, and you just get stuck up in it.
Yeah, it's these mounds of grass, and the grass itself is not the issue, but the problem is the sand accumulates at the base. So you have a small mountain of sand with a little grass sticking out of the top, and they're just piles all in a row and all next to each other and filling, kilometers. And for something like the Gazelle Rally, you want to go the shortest distance. So sometimes that means trying to get straight across those camel grass fields. And you can feel that how much ground clearance you have, and you can feel like, oh, that's 12 inches high of camel grass. I can get over that. And guess what? It's 12 and a half, and you can't. That is close. If you look in the background, you can see those mounds of grass that are sort of have sand in the bases, and that's what it is.
Yeah, it doesn't look fun.
Yeah, no, it's super challenging. And if you were going there and just touring around, there's pretty much always some sort of a trail that goes through a big field of camel grass, which might end up longer than going the straight line. So you don't necessarily go on it in the Gazelle Rally, but you could have the experience of being in the camel field, but yet safely on the trail. There were a lot of rocky areas. There were a lot of weds, which are dry river beds, which are pretty fun to drive in because it's just smooth and sandy. And you just fly down. It's like a sand superhighway. So those are fun.
What about?
I don't think we see here as much, at least not that you can drive in.
What about like big silty things like they have down in Baja?
Yep, fesh. It's called there. There are some silty areas. We didn't encounter too many of them, but you can see. It's a finer, powdery sand, and when you get to it, you just can't get your foot off the throttle. You just got to go.
Yep. Okay. So you raced a Rothman's Tribute Porsche 911. You bought it somewhat prepared. It already raced in a few races. You guys did some modification to it also. Can you tell us what it was like racing that specific vehicle, and then also maybe a little bit about how it was prepared to race?
Sure. It was prepped by a group of people in Belgium to compete specifically in cross-country rallies. So it had a suspension that was strong, and it lifted the car up a bit. It had a racing fuel cell, racing seats, full race cage. The engine itself didn't have too much in the way of modifications. It had, all the safety equipment, off-road lights, and everything you would need to race off-road was already on the car when we got it. And I bought it in October of 2020, 15 days before you had to get the registration in for Dakar.
Okay.
And I had decided that I wanted to go to Dakar like 2 weeks before that. So it was a bit of that was like pandemic induced madness.
Yes.
But the car turned out to be so much fun. And what I really didn't anticipate, and I actually wanted to change the wrap. It was already with the Rothman's tribute colors on it. And I was like, this is a little prettier. Maybe let's do this. And they're like, no, the Belgian guy. And there was a French woman named Judith who was helping manage my team. And she's like, I don't think you want to do that. And I had no idea. And finally I said, okay, fine, leave it, whatever, last minute, just send it that way. And it's not a big deal. And I joked that I felt like I was riding around in Beyonce because everybody wanted to come over and take a selfie. Everybody thought it was fabulous and fierce. And for that rally world, these cars were just such an iconic moment of the sport that everybody dreamed about. Everybody dreams about taking a sports car and doing this with it.
Absolutely.
And
yes.
it was just a constant barrage of fans coming. Nobody cared about me, which was perfect, but everybody wanted to come and see the car and take a picture with the car.
Awesome.
So that was kind of cute. That was fun. And, first year, as I mentioned, first year at the Gazelle Rally, the learning curve is steep. And the Dakar Classic is actually a regularity rally, which is the goal is to go a certain distance in a precise time, which implies a certain average speed. And the way they do it is 100% off-road. And each stage is broken up into, could be, if it's a 30-kilometer stage, you could have 50 speed changes along with road book directions. So you're going 45, 55, 35, 65, kilometers an hour. And you have to keep your pace and try to get to those exact speeds so that your time is correct. And I'd never done anything like that. My co-driver actually is a friend of mine from Barcelona, Sarah Bossart, who is an architect and a sailor. And last minute, I sent her an email. I was afraid to call her. I said, hey, do you want to come to the Dakar Rally with me? And she called, I barely hit send, and she called me back. She's like, I don't know what that means, but yes. So nothing, like absolutely nothing. And she barely even drives her own car. She does not like to drive.
That's really seat of your pants learning. I love it.
It was crazy, but we had a blast, and she just dove into it, full-headed, full-hearted, all of it, and learned as much as she could before we went, learned as much as she could while we were there. And we did okay the first year. And the car, held up great. Learning curve for me, it's a 2-wheel drive, not a 4-wheel drive. And it took me a while to really understand the amount of throttle needed so that you didn't end up in 2 seconds with the butt of the car up to the axles in sand.
Well, that does bring us to that next question is what is it like to compete with that 2-wheel drive versus that 4-wheel drive? What's the big difference besides that throttle control? Because that is a huge key part, I imagine.
Yeah. It's in this event, there's not a lot of places you would need like 4-low or the equivalent of 4-low. You're not climbing over any rocks. There's not any inclines that you need to get up, slowly with the lock differential or anything like that. So everything was manageable. It was really just a question of learning how to do it and how to slide through the turns and how to, where to throttle, where to brake. And the second day this year, there was a large portion that was in a wed, so a dry riverbed, and the base of the riverbed was sandy. It was the middle of the day. It was super hot, and the sand was really soft. And I said to Sarah, Sarah, we're going to be in this thing for 2 kilometers. I don't know what speed we're supposed to go, but I don't want to get stuck. So I am just driving, and we're going to figure out the time after we get out. So I just got in and got my momentum going, and I just went, the whole way through, and there's a Toyota stuck. There's a Land Rover stuck. And we passed half a dozen 4-wheel drive vehicles that were stuck. And it was pretty cool too, because you talk about, proud moments that after that, suddenly people are coming over going, hey, I hear you guys do something with your tire pressure. What is it that you did? I'm like, oh, So you don't know some things, and I do.
Wow.
So that was kind of cool. That was fun. It actually was probably that 2 kilometers that got us a lot of respect, which is silly that it had to take that, but it felt good to really have figured out what we were doing.
I imagine as a new to that field driver, earning that respect kind of has to happen too. So it's like
Yep.
jumping in and just showing them all off. It's got to feel real good.
Yeah, that was fun. That was fun.
You talked about the type of rally race that the Dakar Classic is. Tomorrow, our friends Andy and Mercedes are leaving for the Alcan 5000, and they'll be competing in the Alcan 5000. I think they said their start time is like 7:43 or something tomorrow night. So they'll be leaving in basically in 24 hours from Seattle to start their TSD rally, which is a similar format to what you just got doing in Dakar. So I'm excited for them and what they're doing. So
yeah, that's awesome. I've seen Mercedes around. I met Andy as well, a lot of places.
Yeah.
Cool. I'll have to send her a message. I didn't realize they were going tomorrow.
Yep. Yeah. Me either. I was on Facebook today on my lunch break and they posted that and I said, that's tomorrow, right? So I think it came up really fast for everybody. So it's going to be exciting. So you recently auctioned off that Rothman's 911. I hope you got what you wanted for it, but that's not what this question's about. I want to know, how hard was it to sell that car?
It was not easy, but I am pragmatic, and I feel like I'm good with what we accomplished in that car. And
that's good.
As my answer earlier, old car, new car, I said yes. I'm like that meme girl with all the cats and crying whether she loves all the cats. I love all the cars.
That's awesome.
So I just kind of was like, okay, well, there are other things that I want to do. I don't have endless resources for vehicles. I don't have an endless amount of garage space. And, just to keep the car and have it sit because I like it just didn't really make sense. So it was tough. I mean, there were some major moments with that vehicle for me personally.
Yeah. And I don't know if you're anything like my wife, but my wife doesn't so much like attention, and that car brought the attention, I'm sure.
Yeah, it really did.
Just like your Hummer does.
Yeah.
So I got to ask with that, did you drive around town at all with that Porsche?
Well, it's been in Europe. So it went from, I bought it from a Belgian and my mechanics are Belgian. So it went from Saudi Arabia to the shop in Belgium. So I didn't really have a chance to, take it to the mall.
That would just be so cool to be like, drive down into downtown New York and just be like, oh, look at this.
Yeah.
You turn a lot of heads with that, but that's probably for the best.
Yeah, it was, tough to do sometimes, but you got to look at the longer term big picture. And, I have other things in racing I want to do. So.
Absolutely.
So it looks like you've had to sleep in some tents, maybe some car seats during some of these rallies that you've competed in. What's it like to not have such fancy sleeping accommodations while also having to perform at your highest abilities by the end of the day?
It's you adapt. I also tend to go eat dinner and go to bed. If it's 7 o'clock, if it's 8 o'clock, and whatever I need to do is done, I'm not gonna socialize. I'm not gonna talk to you. I don't want to hear about your day. I'm going to sleep. It's a little harsh, but I know that if I don't sleep, I don't perform well. And aside from performing well, it can be dangerous if you're not fully aware and fully alert. Even in a regularity off-road rally, you can get in trouble and you can hurt yourself, hurt your co-driver. So you have to be as fit and alert as you can. But you adapt, I have earplugs and eye masks and make sure I have a good pillow, make sure my sleeping bag is comfortable, make sure I have the right air mattress. And, that for me, I make sleeping a priority.
Gotcha.
I wear the same shirt for 4 days in a row as long as I got my bedding. and I don't fit enough clothes in my bag, I'm fine. I'm okay. I'll figure it out.
You'll sacrifice clothes for good bedding. That
Yeah.
that is a good motto.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not a bad choice for sure.
Yeah.
So you were just in Spain. Did you end up racing there too, or are you just there for vacation?
I did not. I was there for vacation. Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of a vacation. A little work and more vacation stuff. Yeah.
I'd heard you talk about possibly doing a race there in Spain recently, so I wasn't sure if that was what that was for or not.
Yeah, that's actually, I am discussing with a company in Spain that does motorsports support, and they are building new T3 vehicles, which is the class of, it's called lightweight prototypes, which they are side-by-side-ish. Some of them start based on side-by-sides, like the Red Bull Junior team. Some of the Can-Am, the South Racing Can-Ams are in that class as well. And they've got a vehicle available. And I think I may end up renting it to see how it goes. And I'm trying to decide now between the Morocco rally and the Andalusia rally. Both are put on by ASO, which is the same organization that runs Dakar. So the format will be easy. One is in the beginning of October, one is in the end of October.
Exciting.
And it will be easier because Sarah's going to co-drive for me, and she has never co-driven a race yet. So we'll probably just go take it easy, check out the vehicle, see how things go, see what she learns. So Andalusia would be easier because it's really just a lot of sandy tracks, but Morocco is Morocco, and it's spectacular.
Awesome.
And you get the sand and the dunes. So kind of leaning that way for now.
So, as our listeners have probably gathered, you've competed in a lot of events. Is there one that stands out as your favorite? If so, what's made it your favorite?
Again, I like all of them. The mental challenge and the endurance of the Gazelle Rally is very appealing to me because it's very easy to just stop at the end of the day. Like if you get 10 out of the 12, well, sorry, there will be 10, but if you get 6 out of the 8 checkpoints and you're exhausted and you can just be like, okay, we're just going to go back. I'm tired now. I'm just going to go back. And you just go back because you're not on a race course. You're not, it's a little easier to bail. And so the fortitude required for that is kind of a fun thing to, dig down and make sure and get it and go through that experience. But to have competed in something like the Dakar Rally, it's the whole thing is epic. I mean, everything is epic about it. And to go and to experience those 13 days and to get through those 13 days and to have some successes, it's incredible. There's nothing like it.
That's awesome. Is there an event out there that you haven't done yet that you want to do or plan to do?
Yeah, for
more than one even.
For as much time, well, the 2 that I mentioned, I would like to compete in both of those someday, but for as much time as I spent in Baja around the races, filming for One More Win and chasing after Rod Hall, I've never raced in Baja. So I'm torn between the Baja 1000, which is, the granddaddy of them all and similar in its level of challenge to a Dakar. Because it is just, nonstop 36 hours possibly of racing. Or the Mexican 500, the Mexican 1000, the Nora race, because it's a stage race and it's kind of the rally format that I like. And there's some fun in the between and you don't have to camp, you sleep in hotels and, it's a nice vibe and it's just a great organization and it really is a happy, fun race. So one day I'll get one of the 2 of those under my belt.
We haven't mentioned the Mint 400 yet. So the Mint 400 doesn't really follow any of the formats of races that you've kind of talked about here with the Gazelle and the classic Dakar and things like that. What was that experience like? I know you did it with Shelby Hall. I don't know if you've done it any other times other than that one time, but what is that type of racing like? And does that make you want to do any more like that, which would be the Baja 1000 format?
Yeah, the Mint 400 is really just like a desert race. And it's not as long. It's completed in a day. It's still not short. It's I think about 300 miles. And if I lived on that half of the country, I'd probably be doing a lot more of those races because there's some really great fun series out there. And you just, you one day of racing, you make a weekend of it, bring your friends. But so I did do that race twice. Once was in Rod's Baja 1000 winning 68 Bronco with Shelby Hall as the second driver. And that was so much fun. So much fun. That little Bronco is really incredible. Tough. It's got no suspension. It's banging around really hard. But we did well. We came in, I think, second in our class, which was one of the vintage vehicle classes. And then I raced it a second time in a Polaris side-by-side with Shelby again and my sister Trisha.
Okay.
Nice.
Just to have the experience of that. And we raced in I think it was one of the sportsman classes.
So are we going to see at King of the Hammers now too?
I would love to go check that one out first, but that actually, now that you mention it, is completely a whole other way of the racing, but also would be super fun to tackle one day, just to whip out all the off-road skills and put them all together.
Yeah. You start getting a little bit of the fever from after you've gotten that bite, and you just want to do more and more and more. It's like I grew up, hearing about Baja, and then it's like I discovered King of the Hammers and Dakar, and it's just like I want to do that one and that one. Then I watched a movie where they talked about one a rally it goes through Germany and Austria, I think it is, and I'm like, I want to do that one, and I want to do this. It's like I want to do all the races.
There's a great one. Just to give you one more for your list, the East Africa Safari Rally in Kenya is a vintage race.
I want to race all the races.
Spectacular looking scenery. Yeah.
Is that one in Germany from the Magpul movie?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, that was really, never heard of that thing before. It's seemed more grueling than anything. It seemed like it wasn't. I mean, it's a race, but it seemed like it puts your vehicle's capabilities to the test, and you had to slog through some really hard stuff. So,
yeah, it's all these things I want to do. It's like I need to find like someone who's just rich to be like, hey, go do this for me and tell me about the experience.
That would help.
Or just go be on someone's pit crew. Find somebody to pit for.
I might go down to Johnson Valley and pit for Matthews this year. So
there you go. Yeah, we know John Matthews. Yeah.
Well, Amy, we've stolen time from your life, but where can our listeners find you?
So I am at Team Lerner on social, and my website is teamlerner.com, but I have a feeling it's broken at the moment because I'm a little derelict in fixing it and finding myself some tech support. And if you want to watch One More Win, that is on Amazon, iTunes, YouTube, and I think a few other places you'll be able to find it.
Definitely worth watching. Yet again, I can't state that enough.
Thank you. I really appreciate hearing that. That's awesome.
I've watched it 2 or 3 more times. Like I got my wife to sit down and watch it, and she enjoyed it. And she's normally like, "Oh, it's one of your boring movies."
One of those movies.
Yeah, and she thoroughly enjoyed it herself. So when my wife can sit down and enjoy a movie that I like, it's good. It's a win-win for everybody.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. That's great.
Well, we want to thank everybody who listens to us weekly and those who are watching us live, whether you're watching us on YouTube or through Facebook. We appreciate you guys. Thanks for sharing us with your friends. Make sure you reach out to us and get some patches. Thanks for helping us grow, and God bless America.
Don't forget to visit Patriot Patch and join the Patch of the Month Club. Check out our Gaia affiliate link for up to 40% off. Also, don't forget to head over to Warren Medical Gear Outfitters and Colby Valve to see all their great gear. We are a proud part of the Firearms Radio Network. Got a comment or question? Send it to us through our webpage at firearmsradio.net or through our social media channels by searching for Off-Road Podcast. Also, you can listen to us live at overlandradio.com Mondays at 7 p.m. Pacific. When off-road, please remember to have fun, tread lightly, be safe, and courteous. Thanks for listening.